Having often felt like I'm stuck between generations is a weird feeling. I can't quite relate to Gen Z as TikTok and newer meme cultures completely elude me, and a lot of the shows and films that come out now are, well, kinda shit. But I don't quite fit into that millennial bracket either, as there's lots of things I'm still to experience. But growing up, I practically devoured the movie library that both my parents and grandparents owned, and some of those movies I still remember or watch to this day. They're that good. One such film would be Rocky, and there's only one thing I can really say about that.
God damn, Jimmy. This some serious gourmet shit.
The only way to describe the Rocky series as a whole is nothing less than a monumental landmark in modern pop culture. A long-standing series that turned an unknown actor at the time named Sylvester Stallone into one of the most recognizable megastars of the time, created an iconic character known worldwide, and spawned a franchise that spans over 5 decades and 8 movies. While varying in overall quality, these include the many sequels, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, you're starting to get the picture, and the red-headed stepchild of the group, Rocky Horror Picture Show. Though we're still debating the canonicity of this one and where it fits on the timeline, this eventual giant of cinema had humble origins, that of a low-budget sports drama released back in the 1970s. In 1975, Stallone was an aspiring young actor-writer, eking out a living working part-time jobs as well as with bit parts in low-budget movies. He slept in his car and had less than $100 to his name. Damn. Talk about relatable. One night, while feeling completely burnt out, he happened to catch a boxing match between the current champion Muhammad Ali and a journeyman fighter named Chuck Wepner, a man well past his prime and lightly regarded by anyone in the audience. Wepner went on to surprise everyone that night by holding his own for 15 rounds, taking Ali's best punches and absolutely refusing to go down, proving that while he may not have had the skill, he had the will and drive to win. That night, an idea was planted in Stallone's mind that would eventually grow and become the legend known as Rocky Balboa. Stallone threw all of his hopes and frustrations into this one idea and hammered out an incomplete draft over the course of the next 3 days in one intense burst of creativity. Damn, this hitting a little too close to home if you ask me. The movie's plot begins in late 1975. With the current world heavyweight boxing champion Apollo Creed on tour and eagerly hyping up his next big fight in Philadelphia. He's a confident and flashy individual who was clearly inspired by another champion boxer who was around at the time. But when the opponent scheduled to fight him injures himself during training, and none of the other contenders are willing to fight the champ at such short notice, Creed himself comes up with the idea of giving one unknown local fighter the chance to face him. Knowing full well that it's a publicity stunt, but knowing that it'll appeal to the audience more as they love to cheer on an underdog. I mean, the only reason he even chooses Rocky in the first place is because he finds his nickname of the Italian Stallion amusing. Rocky himself starts out as an offbeat club fighter working for local loan sharks. He doesn't strike the audience with even an inkling of potential. However, upon being convinced to take Creed's offer for the fight, he begins his journey to go the distance, fixing his relationship with Mickey, an old retired trainer, and striving to make Adrian, a shy pet shop worker and Rocky's love interest, proud. The day of the fight comes and Rocky does not disappoint, proving his worth not only to the people watching but even to Creed himself, refusing to go down until the fight is nothing but a sluggish, bloody brawl. Even after the results come in, it's Rocky that truly wins, having proven his worth and just what he's capable of. Creed himself even remarks how much Rocky has made an impression on him. His cocky attitude towards him has been replaced with mutual respect. It's difficult to pin down exactly all of the elements that make this film work as well as it does, but as good a place to start as any would be the almost perfect pacing. For the length the film is, the story covers every beat it needs to, with plenty of time for the audience to digest what happens, giving us plenty of time to know Rocky as well as the various supporting characters before any of the action occurs. Their relationships are put into context so that the story arcs carry some heavy weight behind them. Mickey starts out as aggressive and antagonistic towards Rocky, and the film leads us to believe that he's always been this way. But during an emotional outburst between the two men later on, the cards are laid on the table and each air their grievances about the other, which leads them to come to a mutual understanding and begin to start anew. Carl Weathers injects a welcome touch of humanity into the arrogant and flamboyant Apollo Creed. Far from being a bad guy, he's just an adversary that Rocky has to face down in order to prove himself, with the two characters being mirror images of each other, where Rocky is monotone and humble, Creed is charismatic and outgoing. His fighting style is that of a honed and proficient boxer, compared to Rocky's self-taught, crude and aggressive style. And while Rocky has a burning desire for success within him, Creed is cocky and complacent, dismissing all concerns that Rocky would prove even an ounce of a challenge for him. And it's not until Rocky surprises him with several hits during the fight that he realizes he needs to dig his feet deep and start treating his opponent with the respect he's demanding. And as iconic as the character himself is, just as much so as the Bill Conti soundtrack, easily the music in the film can be considered timeless, with many of the tracks being instantly recognizable or evoking memories of watching the film years hence. And for those of us who regularly visit the gym, there'll more than likely be one or two songs from the film somewhere in that playlist. But the softer songs as well help encapsulate the softer and more tender moments of the film, such as when Rocky is with Adrian, or the early morning run through the streets of Philly. They can truly be described as having captured the mood perfectly, and the film wouldn't be the same without them. At the time when I first watched this movie, I never could wrap my head around why the music was so grandiose and cheerful, and everyone was cheering for Rocky despite him losing the match against Creed. And it wasn't until I rewatched it many years later that the true nature of the film struck me. The story was never about Rocky winning, it was about proving himself. That a bum from Philly could make a mark if given the chance, and the fact that he loses the fight but it still feels like the ultimate victory, elevates it to a level most of the films have never reached since. Nestled at the film's core is a genuine lesson that a movie can say more about a human experience by telling a well-crafted story with focused passion than any sort of self-insert or forcibly written message ever could. I'm sorry it's been such a short one this time. I wanted to keep up my pattern of a video every 2 weeks, but it's been a busy time this December. I want to wish all of you who've been watching my videos a Merry Christmas if you celebrate it, and I look forward to continuing making my videos bolder and better in the new year. Enjoy your days off if you've got them, and spend time with all the family members you can. As for me, I'm signing off until my next one. See ya.